More on our top story now. Today, Judge Thokozile Masipa will decide what sentence is appropriate for Oscar Pistorius after he was found guilty of culpable homicide. Pistorius will either be sentenced to jail time or be placed under house arrest. We're live now to reporters Cathy, Mohlahlana and Annika Larsen. They are outside the North Gauteng High Court for us this morning. Very good morning once again, Cathy. What would Judge Thokozile Masipa have been considering over the past 3 days since the arguments ended on Friday in court?
Well, certainly a lot to mull over for her, Yuvek, and we'll get into some of those details in the moment. But just outside court, the cameras have been rolled out and they're being steadied. Activity is quickly picking up here as we're seeing the number of media that's set to cover this day of sentencing increasing. We're also seeing a lot of activity around the barricades that the Metro Police are putting up here. And it seems like the line they've put up today is actually extending beyond what it has in the last few weeks, and I imagine that they're preparing for the influx of people that they're expecting to see here today. Annika, Larsen, do you think that it's going to be as big as it was on the day that the judgment was handed down?
I think so. This is the last stretch for so many, certainly journalists. A lot of the foreign journalists have extended their stays to make sure that they see this out, and they're flying back out tonight. I expect school children to come along and people, because of the hype that's been created around this, just to come and look. But there's also some level of constancy, which I quite like, which is Judge Masipa. Her arriving at 6:30 every morning, for me, is like quite a comforting cup of tea. She's so regular, and she's so, as she's behaved in court, she's very even. There's nothing unpredictable. She comes in at 6:30 every morning, reading her newspaper in the car. The motorcade comes in, we know when she's coming, so that stayed the same, and I presume that her manner and her sense of even-handedness will persist when she's handing down sentence.
And of course that motorcade was necessitated out of threats and fears for her security, just by virtue of what this trial has done, in terms of the public attention that it has cast on her. And today, no less of a big day, because finally we get to see what her thoughts about this is and what sentence she'll determine in this trial.
Well, from a security point of view, there was definitely an increase in quite heavily armed guards at her side as this court progresses. Especially last week, I noticed there was an electronic machine, a buzzer, as you went actually not into that entrance, but into the actual courtroom itself. They were very strict. She has guards on either side of her, so we don't know what kind of threats have been made, but it seems that they've certainly been taken seriously.
Let's talk about the sentence that we can expect today. Last week we had prosecutor Cathy now says he wants no less than 10 years for Oscar Pistorius. Of course, the defense is trying to get away with as light a sentence as possible. How much of a consideration will Judge Masipa take that 10 years into account?
Well, look, there's no minimum or maximum sentencing requirements on a statutory level for culpable homicide. So it really is at the discretion of the judge. The question is, I think from the serious of the crime point of view, there certainly is a voice, if you like, for a custodial sentence, for there to be a prison sentence. But will she take into account the mitigating factors, and to what extent will those mitigating factors play a role? How big a role will his disability play? And what about his remorse and sense of atonement? I think that Judge Masipa has illustrated that she believes that his remorse is genuine. So I think that's going to play quite a large role.
And certainly a big day for the families. Of course, last week we heard through the voice of Kim Martins what the Steenkamp family want out of this. Kim saying on behalf of her family that they want Oscar to pay not only for what he's done to them, but also what he's done to his own family as a result of this tragedy. But of course, we'll bring you more updates, Iveka. Back to you for now.
Very much. That's Cathy and Annika. We'll be crossing to them throughout the morning as we await the outcome of Oscar Pistorius' sentencing. Our specialist reporter Karen Morn will also be live tweeting from court. That's as soon as proceedings get underway at 9.